people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Few words from veteran trainer Robert Garcia, who says Bam Rodriguez on his way to being the best fighter I've ever trained. Robert Garcia is one of the sport's most renowned and respected coaches. The Ring's 2024 Trainer of the Year has been a mainstay in the corner throughout the years for the likes of his brother, Mikey Garcia, as well as Nonito Donaire, Anthony Joshua briefly, Marcos Maidana, Kelly Pavlik, Abner Mares, Fernando Vargas, Brandon Rios, and currently Virgil Ortiz and Raymond Muratalla and Jesse Rodriguez, among others. Garcia says, Bam, the Ring's number 6 ranked pound-for-pound fighter, can quickly emerge as the cream of the crop. Rodriguez, 22-0 with 15 KOs, will get another chance to move up Garcia's personal power rankings this Saturday when he takes on WBA champion Fernando Martinez, 18-0 with 9 KOs on Ring 4, Night of Champions in Saudi. He could be the best fighter I've ever trained, Garcia told The Ring. Look at what he's already accomplished at 25. He's been a champion for 3 years already and still has a lot left in his own career. He wants all of the challenges that are out there. He wants only the best and no easy fights. He's on the way to being the best fighter I have ever trained. I can probably say in 2 more years that he is. Robert Garcia has a noticeably high opinion of Bam Rodriguez, as do several hardcores who follow the lower weights. But if Bam's marquee value in this country is not akin to those opinions of him, it's because Americans don't really watch the lower weights or discuss them. There's not an overabundance of American fighters at fly, superfly, bantam, so on and so forth. How is it that Bam, who is many times more accomplished than a Virgil Ortiz, for example, who is also trained by Robert Garcia, how is it that Bam is not as talked about as Virgil, even though he's already accomplished more? Americans don't watch the lower weights. The slick southpaw and power-punching Bam is a former unified champion at 112 pounds and is coming off a stoppage win 4 in a row against Fumilela Kafu in July. Rodriguez battered and blasted Kafu to snatch his WBO crown inside 10 rounds and later admitted it was the toughest test of his career. Well, what was so tough about it? Kafu spent a large portion of that fight just circling away from Bam, not engaging, looking to set up a big counter. Bam had to keep the pressure on him, stalk him, walk him down, get in with whatever punches he could as Kafu circled away. It wasn't a tough fight because it was a war. It was a tough fight because Kafu presented a pesky style. Now, it'll be the opposite this weekend when he faces the very aggressive Argentine champion Puma Martinez, who made his bones by ending the reign of long-reigning champion Jerwin Ancajas and Kazuto Ioka. This weekend's fight very much is between the number 1 and number 2 super flyweights in the world. The best versus the best. Beyond this fight, the subject of Bam's free agency has been a lingering topic. As his existing Matchroom deal is set to come to an end, word on the street is that he is likely to stay put and reach an extension with them. Per Robert Garcia, we're very happy with Matchroom. Matchroom gave Bam the opportunities. More than likely, we're going to finalize something. I know we are, because right now, when it comes to promoters in the States and Europe, I think Matchroom is probably the top one right now. The one with the big dates, big fights, really good money too. But look, Bam has always wanted to have options. Bam wants to feel, I'm free. Let's see what's out there. What else out there is there to see for young Bam Rodriguez? Bam! Now, even though it's been some years since Bam fought under the Taken Promotions banner, that is what else is out there for Bam. The United States is less than ideal territory for a fighter who fights at these weights because, I reiterate, Americans traditionally don't watch them. And most of the fighters at these weights are primarily from either different parts of Asia or south of the border in Central America or South America. The money at these weights, primarily, it is in the Far East. It is in Asia, where the audience is. So if the question is, what else is out there for Bam besides extending with Matchroom, that is a potential option, something that deserves some mention. This weekend, Bam Rodriguez comes one step closer to becoming this division's inaugural undisputed champion. If he beats Puma Martinez, and I think that he's going to, there is one belt remaining, the IBF title, held by Willibaldo Garcia, who will be defending that title before this year is out against two-weight world champion Kenshiro Teraji of Japan, who will be moving up to his third weight class to challenge for that belt. I think Kenshiro's gonna win that fight. Kenshiro is a well-known fighter in the Far East, in his native Japan. If he wins, and I think that he's going to, that would in effect set up a super fight between him and Bam for undisputed. Now, ask yourself, where might that fight be bigger? Here in the United States, where Americans don't traditionally watch the lower weights, or in Japan, where their fighters primarily dominate these same weight classes? I happen to think that Bam versus Kenshiro is bigger in Japan than it is in America. If Matchroom wants to bankroll it and bring it here, go ahead. I'll watch it wherever it happens. But I do think a lot more people in the Far East would be attentive and receptive to that fight than the ones here in the United States. And that doesn't just apply to that fight. That also applies to the fights at 118 pounds that have a proliferation of Japanese fighters. The audience for those fights is in Japan. The WBA title at 118 pounds is set to be on the line in the upcoming Nonito Donaire versus Seiya Tsutsumi fight. Guess where that's going down? The vacant WBC title is set to be on the line in the upcoming Tenshin Nasukawa versus Takuma Inoue fight. Guess where that's going down? In Japan. And a fight between Bam and any of the winners of those fights in the Far East makes for a big fight because the audience that primarily watches these weights is in Japan. So, if the question is, what else is out there for Bam besides extending with Matchroom, there is basing yourself out of Japan and boxing under the Taken Promotions banner. That is an option also. Though because Robert assured that he is going to re-sign to Matchroom, he basically confirmed that they're going to, that they're very happy over there. Now, perhaps they can structure the deal in such a way that would allow Bam Rodriguez to travel, if he needs to the Far East for the biggest fights at 118. Because after he's all done at Superfly, that's where he's headed.
No, I don't think this is Devin's nemesis. I just think this is a manipulation boxing match because people are saying that Devin was fighting old champions, and Devin himself said you could become a champion. Those are his words. He said you could be moved the right way and become a champion. I don't think if Devin Haney was on the up and up, he would have chose Brian Norman Jr. ever. I think Ryan Garcia shit the bed. Rolly whooped that nigga. T.O. Female has ducked Devin Haney in this life, a past life, Fortnite, Call of Duty. T.O. was just terrified of Devin Haney. So I think Shakur Stevenson, I think that fight was never in play. I think they had to choose Brian Norman, and that's why Bill Haney is in the corner somewhere smoking on a Nike cigarette.
I actually agree with a lot of what Two-Tone the Superstar said, that we're only really here because of what other fights fell through for Devin. What was supposed to be the Garcia rematch and the Lopez fight. It's not manipulation, though. Devin Haney chose free agency. Don't forget that. He could have kept doing business with Top Rank. He could have migrated over to Matchroom if he wanted to. He wanted his wiggle room. He wanted his freedom, if that's what you want to call it. He's really only as free as what his options are, but he had options, and this is the one that he chose. Nobody forced him to fight Brian Norman. It's just Brian was all that was on the table after those other two fights fell through. But if he didn't want to do that, if that's all that Turkey had to offer you, you could have said, all right, well, I'm going to go somewhere else and see what they've got. The issue? Devin wants a lot of money. And the guy paying the most money out to boxers in boxing right now is Turkey. So you can go somewhere else for something else, but it won't pay as much. Gotta make a decision. Devin did, and I would not call that manipulation. I would call that a reality check. I would say those are the breaks. If you want to continue making vast sums of cash, this is what's on offer. Do you want it or not? I don't like the idea that Devin Haney is somehow a victim while making the kind of money most Americans will never see in a lifetime. He's not a victim, and don't make him out to be one, because he's faced with a formidable adversary this Saturday. So while I do agree that Bryan probably wouldn't have been Devin's first choice, no, perhaps not, but that's what he chose to keep making big money. Big money involves big risks.
As it should.
Boxing insider Rick Glacier has gone on to say that he likes Bryan Norman to win the fight this weekend. He believes that Devin is shot to bits. Former champions Sean Porter and Timothy Bradley have said the same. They're going with Bryan to win the fight. For the same reason, because they think Devin is damaged goods as a result of the Ryan Garcia fight. And he's done nothing since then to convince us of otherwise, aside from an overly safe fight against Jose Ramirez. People think he's damaged goods. I have to admit that I do too. I'm going with Bryan. Despite Devin Haney being the more accomplished fighter of the two on paper, what do I say all the time? There is more to boxing than what you see on paper. And Devin's accomplishments on paper don't speak to the fighter that he's about to fight. On paper, you're undisputed. On paper, you're a two-weight world champion. On paper, you fought more highly rated fighters than Bryan did. But who were those fighters? George Kambosos? He's nothing like Bryan Norman. Vasyl Lomachenko? You fought Vasyl Lomachenko? Yeah, you did, but you didn't really beat him. That guy's tiny compared to Bryan Norman. Regis Prograis, in his mid-30s, slow-footed. He was a shorter man than Devin Haney with shorter arms. That's not the case with Bryan. Bryan is eye level to Devin Haney with about the same wingspan. Younger than all of those aforementioned fighters, simultaneously bigger than all of those aforementioned fighters. What Devin normally has working for him going into a fight, Bryan now has that. How many times have you actually seen Devin in there with someone who's younger than he is? How many, you cocksucking son of a bitch? Hey, tone it down. So seeing the situation that Devin is only really here because he ran out of big money options, that this is not his first choice, but it's the only one that gets him a Saudi bag, that he may be damaged goods as a result of the Ryan Garcia fight, based on the scared performance that he put on against Jose Ramirez, and that stylistically, where normally Devin being the taller, longer fighter in the ring allows him to stay on the outside and stay out there safely. You ain't taller and longer than this guy. Even at his best, we've seen Devin get touched up by smaller fighters than a Bryan Norman. We saw him get touched up by Jorge Linares, by Jojo Diaz, Vasyl Lomachenko. Fighters of shorter stature with shorter arms were able to get inside on Devin Haney on several occasions to where a bigger man, if they did, he can too. It's not just personalities and the trademark stoicism of Bryan Norman that makes me favor him in this fight. It's that we've seen the kinks in Devin's armor. He's the one that actually has a lot to prove. A loss tomorrow for Bryan Norman would hardly be the end because, I reiterate, he's younger than Devin. He's got plenty of time to rebuild, but Devin? They overturned the Ryan Garcia loss, but we all know what we saw. We all know it happened. Strike it from the record, if you wish. The damage you sustained still lingers. I've got Bryan knocking out Devin Haney. I've seen Devin hurt too many times by too many fighters that are smaller than the one that he's about to face. So do I trust that for 36 minutes, Devin Haney can walk through the water without getting wet, that he won't get hit?
Won't get caught.
No, I don't trust it. And I don't trust him. I'm going with Bryan Norman to stop Devin Haney after the midway point. While Devin is fresh and moving around and no damage is set in, he can buy himself time, but he's on borrowed time. I think Bryan is going to get to him. I think Bryan is going to stop him. If Devin isn't damaged goods, and he's better than we're giving him credit for, he better show it tomorrow, because I've got Bryan. Condescending little prick!
Ben be in your corner on the 19th of December. So no, I won't be trained by Ben Davison. I said that London's a bit distracting for me. So I was invited to train with Team Usyk. So I've been in Spain. We've been doing some good training out in Spain. And I think he's one of the best in the world. Not I think, he is one of the best in the world. And it's not all down to him, it's also down to his team that's around him. So I linked up with them and getting an insight to how someone who's achieved so much has been phenomenal, man. It's been a great experience and it's very challenging. Wow.
So it has since come out that for the last few months, Anthony Joshua has been training in Spain with Usyk's team, hoping that some of that excellence rubs off on him. In truth, I don't think Anthony Joshua needs to make any additional changes to his corner to beat the likes of a Jake Paul, and that's not what motivated them. Looks like he was already training with them before this fight came together. Remember that this fight is last minute. It's impromptu. It's not what Anthony was planning on doing towards the end of this year, and it's not what Jake was planning on doing either. So the changes to Anthony's corner have little to nothing to do with Jake. Though addressing the changes to Anthony's corner, how many trainers has he been with now? Rob McCracken at the start, then it was Robert Garcia, albeit very briefly Robert Garcia, then Derek James, also very briefly, more recently Ben Davison, which seemed like a good fit until that crushing defeat to Daniel Dubois last year, and now he's going to be training with Team Usyk. Now, he could do a lot worse than train with those guys. Those guys are serious professionals, but the amount of times I've seen him bounce around, I can't say that I'm all encouraged by it. The amount of trainers that he's gone throughout his professional boxing career, it doesn't give you a sense of stability and a sense of continuity. It's almost like you're searching for something in a trainer that you should be able to find in yourself. That's how it reads outwardly. Now, fighters swap out trainers all the time, but do they swap them out this much? And do they do it this much with success? Look at Yanni Bekalam-Kanalai. He used to be trained by Buddy McGirt, and then he swapped him out for Brian Viloria. Callum Smith used to be trained by Joe Gallagher, then he enlisted the aid of Buddy McGirt. So fighters do change trainers all the time. It happens all the time, but does it happen this much? Anthony has been through a good number of different trainers. What is he searching for? Changes to the corner don't have much to do with the Jake Paul fight. In fact, that's more about what happens after the Jake Paul fight. If Anthony does to Jake what I think he's going to do to Jake, these changes to the corner pertain more to what remains of Anthony Joshua's career, a presumed Tyson Fury showdown next year, and whether or not these changes will help. That is the training team that beat Tyson Fury 2 times, beat Daniel Dubois 2 times. Remember what they said before we got here, that Turki Al-Sheikh wants to bring AJ back as early as February of next year. Coincidentally, Daniel Dubois just withdrew from an IBF final eliminator against Frankie Sanchez. So on that premise, could we be on the eve of a Joshua versus Dubois rematch while Anthony is in pursuit of redemption and rebuilding himself? Is that what Turkey has planned for February? Because if it is, then it would make sense for Daniel to bail on Frankie to go fight Anthony again. More money, and what at least he thinks is a more winnable fight. I anticipate Anthony's gonna knock Jake's block off, and after that, that's where we'll see the true value of enlisting the aid of Team Usyk, now Team AJ.